Hello YouTube! Welcome in, welcome in. We are hanging out with Bricky again. We are continuing with this video. We watched some Necrons and we watched some information on the initial 3 Gods of Chaos. Now we're going to go and get into the Eldar section of the video. We're going to go up until about the Drukari for this video, and then we're going to separate the chunk about all of mankind, which is literally the remainder of this video. But anyway, sit back, relax, tell me about your favorite Warhammer faction, and yeah, let's get to watching.
Instead, begin the age of the galactic scale. Ever present, but now fact on the suffering of a
there it is.
60 million years ago in an attempt to combat the Necrons in Catan, the ability to harness it with a mastery that was unseen by so many others. A mastery so powerful, the Necrons retreated to sleep in order to wait it out. It was no longer a galaxy to be ruled by them, but instead begin the age of the...
Oh, I get the joke now. It was an not impossible, an invincible joke. The Eldar.
The Eldar are a race of pointed-eared humanoids that are all psychically attuned to the warp. If we're being meta here, these are space elves, and these elves ruled the galaxy in the time the Necrons went to sleep and humanity began to rise. The Eldar's empire...
Space elves, but instead of being humble and like very practical and whimsical and all about the arts, because they have such a long lifespan, with these ones, they do that, but then they crank it up to 1 billion because it's like, we are immortal, we are unchanging, we are, we cannot die, and also we're the most powerful race in the system right now. So why don't we just do whatever the hell we want to do? Right? Just do whatever we want.
Was galaxy-wide and lasted for longer than any other galactic power that we know of. Their understanding of all things was exceptional. With every single one of them being psychers, they had the ability to master the warp and use it to their...
Every single one of them is a psyker? Oh, that's fucked up. That's crazy.
Advantage. See, being a psyker is basically like being a wizard, or I guess in this case it's more of a sorcerer, since you are born with the gifts as opposed to learning them. In order to utilize your psychic abilities, however, you must then reach into the other dimension, into the warp, into hell for that power. So if you were to say, cast Fireball, your mind would reach into the warp, gather the strength to rewrite reality, to then cast Fireball. Now, you might think to yourself, doesn't that mean if you are opening up a power to the warp, you may create a lot of risk to yourself because of all the horrible things we just talked about in the warp?
Yes. Probably not for the Eldar.
However, in Warhammer 40K...
Yes, you will. However...
willpower is a real, tangible thing, in the sense that in its own right, it can be weaponized. Being strong of will means being strong of soul, and being strong of soul means you can resist the pull of the warp that much more. A more inexperienced psyker opens up a hole into the warp that is large, and that hole widens to get more power, allowing evil things to get in. A powerful psyker is able to open a very small hole, but with immense force to get the same amount of power with less risk. The Eldar are... Okay, so when you're inexperienced, you'll just kind of like gash a hole into the warp and just kind of like grab what you can out of it in a frantic way. When you get more experienced, you know to... It's kind of like how medicine has evolved, right? Where we've evolved from having to basically open up somebody's entire chest just to do a small bit of cleanup inside the body. We have evolved to the point where all we need to do is like a millimeter incision and we can do all the work that we ever need. Yeah, brute force versus finesse. Okay, so you're telling me that Hal Jordan would be like one of the greatest psychers of all time. Correct? Or Batman. Master psychers. Every single one of them can call upon the warp, and over millions of years they have perfected it so much so that they can weave structures out of it. In some species in the galaxy, they utilize the warp itself for interstellar travel. The Eldar ain't having any of that noise. How about we utilize a fancy alternative mode of travel that is substantially safer than the old ones created called the Webway? What about dying? Miss me with that. We no longer age. And if we do, we can just be reborn like that. Food, water, materials, we make things out of distilled warp essence itself. We sing unreality into cathedrals to dine in. What truly could the Eldari Empire possibly fear?
Themselves. When you are at the top of the food chain, there's only one thing that can take you down, and that's literally the top of the food chain. And your own hubris. Also, that
the
face.
Eldari Empire's biggest fear was themselves, with a society so perfect they wanted for naught, and this led them down dark and dangerous paths. When the base functions of society are no longer a problem for you, you tend to experiment. Perhaps the medium rare steak on your plate would be better if it was elf meat. Hey, I'm not saying we should make cannibalism legal, but like, what's the issue with a little taste? Violence.
Yeah, we could just reborn somebody, right? It's fine. Like, we can cut off a lowborn's arm, sear it up, we can regrow it. We can regrow it. They can regrow it without any cause of issue. Hell, we can even numb the pain. There's literally zero consequence. Zero. None. Nada. We can do whatever we want. Reform everything. It's fine. Like, what's the problem?
Sports is one thing, but how come we don't do sports to the death? I mean, I'm just saying, like, if both participants are willing and clear about it, like, what really is the problem there, you know? Art.
And like, once again, we can just bring back the losers if they're still good at playing the game. I mean, like, and we lose them. I mean, like, we could just bring them back. It's fine. They could just be reborn, redo it, restart. There's no problem. What's the consequence?
Is in the eye of the viewer, and what is considered art is completely up to the concept of one's own interest. A canvas adorned with the blood of a man wronged is truly the visual poetry that our society needs. Hedonism, with a slow and consistent hedonism, the Eldar slid backwards into debauchery of the sort I cannot discuss on this YouTube video. Murder on stage, delicacies and drugs distilled from one another, the trade of slaves and concubines, and much, much worse. The Eldar physiology has their emotions heightened, and they can feel more than a human does. So while it can provide lows of pure despair, it can also provide greater highs than you have ever known. And swinging between the two of them was the Eldar game. The warp.
Bipolarism, the race. Oh my goodness.
Took notice of this heavily, and it began to react. On a galactic scale, the debauchery and the hedonism of the Eldar race caused levels of warp storm so pronounced and so volatile that it cut off interstellar travel for all those who used it. Communications between planets was removed, and a nightmarish era of old night began. This continued for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. The Eldar all but removed from the problems being caused as they entered heights of more and more ecstasy. They needed more and more and more. Nothing was ever enough. More murder, more torture. It's art, it's delicacies, it's life. This silence offends Slaanesh. Wait. Slaanesh, the prince of pleasure, she who thirsts, the god of unspeakable excess, is our fourth chaos god.
We are hanging around on the torso for a very long time, and it's very uncomfortable.
With the sacred number of 6 adorning their title. Slaanesh is a bit of a tricky one, because with our other 3 chaos gods, there was a certain understanding of human emotions and desires. But for Slaanesh, that desire is how they get their power. The words to be used would be decadence, pleasure, perfection, passion, excess, and many others. The pursuit of more, the want to do more, experience more, become more. That's what gives Slaanesh their gifts. A lot of people believe that Slaanesh is something that originates with sex, specifically, and it makes sense why they assume that. The visuals of Slaanesh patrons are all very lithe and sexual, but they are also intentionally androgynous to appear attractive to a variety of intrigues. However,
what was that? The gayest shit imaginable. Happy Pride Month, everybody. Okay, so I'm not gay, but I'm Swedish. Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of like the lust angle when you go into, what's it called, the 7 deadly sins, right? Lust, your first thought process is always like sex. Your first thought process is attractive, beauty, being handsome, that sort of thing. Just being very conventionally attractive and horny. However, lust for power, lust for gold, lust for pain, lust for vengeance, like lust takes forms in many different ways, and that's part of the reason why the seven deadly sins kind of like overlap with each other. Lust for food, lust for another's attention, lust for vengeance, lust for war, lust for money. Like they all kind of fall into the same place. However, it's just with Slaanesh, it's not specifically lust, it's excess. More, wanting more and more and more and more and more. So it's just, you have enough, but is it enough? Yeah, that sort of thing. It's a very interesting concept. Greed is physical lust, lust is emotional, envy is wanting what others have. You can lust over what others have, you can lust over somebody's physical wealth, and you can lust over somebody's emotional attention. Like, that's a thing. Hello.
However, to think that Slaanesh specifically derives from sex would be mistaken. While it is true that a lot of
the myth of consensual sex. I consent. Do tricks on it, do tricks on it, do tricks on it, do tricks on it. Oh god.
humanity's actions can relate to getting laid, and Slaanesh is the dark.
Hello, Chaos Leland. At heart, perfectionism is the denial of reality's sufficiency. Yes, pretty much, yeah.
Dark Prince of Desire, it's more on the lines of feeling an excess of an emotion. It is excessive touch and scent and desire, and a lot of that has to do with sex. That's why it looks like sex, but it's more than just that. A patron of the arts may feed Slaanesh, one that aspires to become the perfect chef or master of their craft, and the sheer pursuit of that alone will feed Slaanesh. Whiplash is Slaanesh's absolute favorite film. Videos where people beat Elden Ring on a dance pad feed Slaanesh.
There are no two words in the English language.
VTubers who are still trying to grow their audience feed Slaanesh.
More harmful than good job.
But is there a line?
No, man, no.
This also moves into the concept of feeling. Sensation is a majorly Slaanesh-coded thing. It might start off feeling good, but then you get to play around a little bit, you know? You play with a little bit of pain. Light pain might not be enough, so you might want more. Or inflicting the pain could be your jam. Music can increase to volumes that may hurt your ears, and even then that might not be enough. More. You must have more. Many of the disciples of
it's the thing that even like us as humans and creatives and all that, like, we want more all the time. Like, that's why like financial greed is such a big problem right now. It's like, how much is enough? Well, it's never enough because everything's just getting more and more expensive. We need more. We need things to be more expensive so that we can make more money. But if we are making more money, then there are people at the bottom of the totem pole who are suffering, but it doesn't matter because we're getting everything we want. But at the same time, it's like, even the people at the bottom of the totem pole, like, you want more. You'll bash your head against the wall in order to try and get that next high of, success, something like that. You're doing everything you can in order to just get more. And even with it's a rat race. Yep. Or hell, even with something as simple as I have an itch on the inside of my arm. You scratch it until it's gone, but then you scratch it for a little bit longer because it feels just a little okay. And you just keep going. And sometimes you do that and it might hurt, and that's when you're like, okay, maybe I'll stop. Then you're like, oh, that was an interesting feel. So you scratch it again, even though you don't need to. I'm sure that I'm not the only one who has ever done that sort of thing, even if it wasn't subconscious.
Of Slaanesh carry a demonic form in their lithe grace. The Keeper of Secrets is his chosen envoy, and their movements are a blur of dance and pain with an aura all the more fatal. They dance and
Hold on 1 second, everybody.
sing, but there's always a form of malice behind every action they take. An alluring gaze that will pull you in right before the demonic entity can crush you in that grip. Slaanesh's palace has 6 layers surrounding it, and one of them is the excess of gluttony, where the participant finds themselves in a beautiful banquet full of the most delicious foods imaginable, tables of
Ricky, you are so performative with your arm movements and all that. Honestly, reminds me of a Critical Role stream or something like that, where they're being very extravagant with their arm movements and everything. Not a bad thing. It's very theater.
Delicacies and rivers of wine tempt the user to such a degree that they cannot stop stuffing their face, unaware that the things they are eating are very vaguely familiar meat. If one does not see themselves drowning in the river of wine, they may soon fill their bodies up so much that they cease to function and fall over.
I'm not sure what that says. Faterism? I'm scared.
Becoming part of the banquet themselves.
True, it is more
That
interesting than
one
just standing there.
Of these 6 layers of Slaanesh's palace. This was the ecstasy that the Eldar civilization indulged in for millennia, and did so at a monumental scale that they created a god from it.
Tag feederism. That's don't like that. Don't like that.
Find pleasure in every moment. Indulge in every whim. Let lesser races feel the burden of their crude lives. We are beyond such concerns or worries. Every power is ours to use. Every sensation ours to experience. We are truly masters of the galaxy, and all others exist only to satisfy our curiosities. We have earned our position of power. Let us forever taste the fruits of such achievement. Time itself is ours to command. We are eternal.
Well, the Gangoons and... That's a line. That's a line. Gangoons and come Satan. Okay.
With the birth of Slaanesh, the Eldari Empire ceased to be. A catastrophic event so horrible.
Hi, how are you? You're gone. Too much horny. We bonk stick you.
Horrible that the warp ripped a hole permanently in our reality. A fissure forever known as the Eye of Terror. With the sudden inhalation of this god's largest breath, the Eldari souls are a currency to be now collected by she who thirsts. Trillions of Eldar died in an instant. Slaanesh gorging on their souls to satisfy his palate. 99.9% of their entire species died, and the rest are doomed to a fate worse than death. For Slaanesh now stakes a claim on each and every Eldar soul. From the moment they pass on, an eternity of torment awaits them. The remaining Eldar
Rip. That moment when one dude is so selfish that it screws everything up for everybody else. Yep. Rough. Granted, it was more than just one dude, but still.
Their entire lives to stopping this eventuality. Their dying race so devoted to saving themselves from the Dark Prince. And
that feeds Slaanesh. Because it's not exactly a selfless thing. It's not an excessive thing. It is literally a selfish act in order to save yourself every single time. Even if it's for good intentions, it is a selfish act. And they are trying to, stave off death. They're trying to get more out of their life. So, guess what? You're still feeding Slaanesh. Played right into her hands. I think I've watched this movie.
in doing so, have found very creative ways.
The Craftworld.
In the modern world of Warhammer, the Craftworld Eldar are the main force of Eldar in the galaxy and represent the elf style that many think of when you think elves in space. Fantasy, elf.
We think elves in space. But yeah, we have fantasy elves, we have fantasy orcs, and we got the humans. We got the base 3, but we're in sci-fi. So interesting.
In space, not those elves. We'll get to them. A craft world is a monumentally large starship, the size of a continent, that acts as a form of flotilla. During the highest reaches of hedonism, many Eldar saw the demonic writing on the wall and began to try and seek asylum from their own debauchery. Those Eldar left on monumental craft worlds into the far reaches of the galaxy and saved themselves from Slaanesh's awakening. The main thing the craft world Eldar seek is to temper their minds and bodies in a way that will never allow them to slide back into their old ways. The representation they carry is
never say never, motherfucker.
that of a more feudal Japanese motif. Eldar follow paths as they age, the path of the warrior, the seer, the poet, the diplomat, the bone singer, and so on. These paths are a strict code of conduct to hone the heightened Eldar psychology down a school of thought and action. And if it sounds a hell of a lot like Bushido, well, you're damn right. Here's a medal and a soul stone. Don't lose it or an eternity of torment awaits you. Going through these paths
Oh no.
this will allow you to take up not just a role in Eldar society, but keep your mind clear from the past worries that plagued them. Every Eldar is said to be a psyker, however, very few of them actually utilize their psychic powers for fear of tempting she who thirsts. A large amount of emphasis is also put on ancestors of the Eldar and learning from them the farther you go down a path. This can sometimes be seen by the large variety of jewels adoring the armor of Eldar. Those are called soul stones, the biggest middle finger to Slaanesh they can think of. See, when an Eldar dies, these stones act as a backup, and instead of their souls going to Slaanesh, they are then trapped and stored in this little stone. So when the Eldar say they commune with their ancestors, they mean so very literally, as the spirit and soul of generations before them are stored here, often larger structures.
Oh, okay. So now they had to break the cycle of rebirth that they were giving themselves. They have like an end. They have an end to themselves now. So that gives them that that sense of grounding, which is definitely something that's helping them out. I do think that this devotion that they have is still something that would probably feed Slaanesh, just not to the same degree. Especially since their entire focus is more safety, more like safety from Slaanesh and everything like that. So like that's their entire like life's philosophy at this point is I need to find out more ways to keep myself safe from Slaanesh at all times. So that's what they're just going to do. But they're doing something in order to, save their souls. Instead of when they die, they go to the warp and then they get, thrown into Slaanesh's little hot tub of torment, I guess. They instead get soul trapped, kind of like in Oblivion, right? When you soul trap a creature, it throws into a little gem, and then you can use that for power and capabilities and all that fun stuff. Neat. I like this idea. It's an interesting way to do that. Unfortunately, if anything happens to those soul gems, or Slaanesh gets a little bit of an upper hand here, probably going to be a bad time.
May contain vast amounts of soul stone, such as the Infinity Circuit in the Craftworld itself, allowing the souls of the dead to help power their enormous starship. The young do not desire the discipline of the path, but rather their curiosity drives them to try every fruit from the tree. Thus, it is that so many take the path of wandering or the path of damnation in their first years of adulthood. And so, the great tragedy of our kind is played out again and again as the number of our people shrink from generation to generation.
Oh yeah, because you guys aren't... Can the Eldar have kids? Can they not have children? If so, if they can't have children, that's the only way I can see them actually, like, not being able to grow their civilization, right? So, I don't understand.
These paths, when completed, allow an Eldar to move to the next one, then the next one. However, since this is the grim darkness of the world, many of these paths rely on combat. The Eldar actually had gods at one point. Cain, Vol, Isha, Azaryan, and so on.
Get that jar out of there.
These gods are aspects of the Eldar pantheon, and while many were killed in Slaanesh's creation, their teachings live on. For some, the strongest devotion to the Eldar gods is to join the Aspect Warriors and embody the wrath of Cain.
Oh, okay. I'll read that after.
Their god of war. While guardians of the Eldar Craftworlds are more akin to a trained militia, the Aspect Warriors embody a particular variant of the path. Each are led by a Phoenix Lord, a name passed down from generations and embodying the souls of prior Phoenix Lords with each new one. The Howling Banshees, led by Jane Zar, Fugin and his Fire Dragons, Baharoth and his Swooping Hawks, or Malgan Ra and his Dark Reapers. Each
Oh, wow, that's a lot of names you just threw at me there.
Aspect Shrine carries with it the Eldar way of war. Fast, hard-hitting, and incredibly tricksy, for they do not have the numbers to fight in any other way. The Craftworld Eldar show how mangled an empire can be by their own actions.
That's right, like, trillions of lives were lost in the upcoming Slaanesh. They might actually be able to, you know, repopulate a little bit, like they can still have kids and all that, but the problem is they are still outnumbered by every other race, like probably 1,000 to 1 easily. They're just sitting on these like continent-sized craft worlds, while even like the Imperium of Man is spread out between hundreds of worlds. They're able to actually like afford nuking 1,000 people every day just to keep the Emperor sustained, so that they can keep the webway open, right? There's no way that the Eldar could do that right now. Like the Craftworld Eldar, there's no way they could do that. Okay, okay, now I understand it. They say the Imperium has 1 million worlds, exactly. Whereas these Craftworlds, they probably only have a few hundred, maybe 1,000, couple thousand. That's still nowhere near enough, and these are only continent-sized, whereas the Imperium of Man have worlds, like actual planets. And that's not even to bring into consideration the Tyranids, who are just endlessly multiplying, or the Orcs, who are just, once again, endlessly multiplying. So, yeah, these guys can probably only do so much.
They once ruled the galaxy in an honest, non-hyperbolic way, but in the end, they were bested by themselves, and their most prominent remnants are forced to drift aimlessly through the galaxy, trying to save their species from extinction and resist the temptations of she who thirsts. But for some, the party, it's just beginning.
Kari. Fucking Carl dancing.
Deep within the webway is the city of Comorragh. This dark city once existed as a port in the webway that allowed for ease of transport for the Eldar between its various domains. The significance of this city meant that it needed to be a bit more of a neutral territory outside of the jurisdiction of general Eldar law, and therefore it was allowed to self-govern. This did not go well.
Really? A place that's allowed to self-govern and do whatever it wants? It didn't go well? Whoever would have thought that would happen?
Dark City became the hideaway for all manner of sin. The Eldar race slipped into debauchery on a galactic scale that it birthed a god, and this was the city you went to when that wasn't enough for you.
Oh no, wait, and these guys are still active? How are they still active? I thought that when Slaanesh popped out, they just kind of like removed all the Eldar that were in the webway, right? Wait, are these guys even in the webway? Did I miss something?
Convenience of being so deep within the webway was that it exists as a blind spot to the horrors of the warp. So while the rest of the Eldar fled the downfall of their species,
I really gotta wait on my questions sometimes because a lot of the time it's answered like 0.2 seconds after I press play again.
Comorragh kept partying. When Slaanesh was birthed, they were saved the worst of it, thanks to them being nice and neatly tucked away inside the webway. But only somewhat. The Dark Prince did not have a grip around their soul, but the tiniest pinky finger, and they were still pulling. But due to their excess hedonism, they found a solution to this problem. If they
Well, you are the god of excess, right? Yeah? What if we just keep giving you more? I'm listening. I mean, you already took all those other people, and we got a bunch of people that ran away like a bunch of scared little bitches. What if we just keep going? What if we just keep doing more for you? Can we be friends? I'm listening.
tormented others, they could temporarily rejuvenate their souls and continue to cheat their inevitable death by placating the Prince of Pleasure. And if they kept this up on the regular, they could effectively become immortal. Thus, the Drukari were born. Unlike the more stoic elves you see in works of fiction, the Drukari themselves exist as a sort of analog of the more grim and fiendish elves you find in Norse and European mythology. The Drukari are soul vampires, but the more basic means to feed are hardly enough to keep them going. This desire to feed is known as the thirst, and to quench it effectively, they have mastered the art of biotechnology and dark sciences to really juice themselves up on the crispy soul sprite from the vending machine called the Galaxy. The majority of Drukari,
because they are pretty much what's it called? They are slaves to Slaanesh at this point, I guess, right? If they want to just keep going, they have to be as excessive as possible. And how do you become more excessive? You have to keep topping yourself. You have to keep doing more and more. First you sit down at the table. Next, you sit on top of the table. Next, you stand at the table. Next, you kind of like levitate next to the table. Next, you flip the table. Next, you decide to sit on the table leg. Next, you decide, wait a second, this table leg should be vertical or horizontal. It should be different. And then you're just messing with the table. You just have to keep doing everything more and more and more ridiculous. Eventually, that table looks like, I don't know, something I cannot mention on YouTube.
Drukari act as pirates and raiders and slavers. They go into our physical reality and drag people back to Comorragh to commit atrocities that go beyond any imaginative torture a human can think of. The Drukari are organized in various groups throughout the Dark City to accomplish this in a more organized and extremely brutal way. The Cabals act as the main warriors of the city, led by their archons. Witches and succubi act as entertainment for Comorragh in gladiatorial arenas, and the flesh-crafting homunculus keep the Drukari alive and discover ever increasingly more painful ways to torment their ever increasingly large supply of slaves they are brought. The Dark Eldar see the other inhabitants of the galaxy as little more than cattle, livestock that can be brought to bay or slaughtered at any time. Their fodder, however, is not meat and muscle, but the anguish and despair of the weak. The Dark Eldar do indeed drink blood, but also tears, and most sustaining of all, the raw essence of pain they wring out of their captives.
So they're torture masters. Gotcha. Fucked up. That's fucked up, man. You gotta learn to pause a few seconds later to avoid this here info. Free. Pauses process info and asks questions and then hits play. More info comes that explains that 5 seconds later. Well, if I do that, then I might as well just watch the entire video without giving any kind of like thought, right?
Truth of the matter is that Drukari sustain themselves on the suffering of others, not just morally, but physically. Comorragh is a city rife with backstabbing schemes and murder. It is the worst back alleys of the worst ghettos at the best of times. Nothing is more horrifying to a Drukari than death, for death will see them in the talons of Slaanesh for an eternity of torment. So they do everything they can to stop this. The homunculi covens regrow dead members from pieces of flesh as bargaining chips. The succubi create grisly gladiatorial spectacles that literally
Why does she have a Star Trooper on her shoulder? Stormtrooper. Sorry, Stormtrooper. Why does she have a Stormtrooper on her shoulder?
rejuvenate the audience members as captives are murdered for sport. To be captured by the Drukari is one of, if not the worst fate imaginable in the world of Warhammer 40K. In a universe built on war crimes, they are the most debased war crimers of all time.
Oh my god, it's Canada.
To be tortured and sacrificed in the gladiatorial arenas is a blessing, for you have escaped the fate of being in the Fleshsmiths control group.
I hate that he had to put a, just the demonetized, or the monetization warning symbol over this.
Or being turned into a living and breathing piece of furniture for an Archon's quarters.
Excuse me? A living Look, the table thing was just an analogy. I wasn't being literal here.
In a cruel twist of fate, a newly born Drukari does not arrive into this world loving torture. It is something they must grow to love. Grow to appreciate the suffering of other beings in order to survive in the world they have been brought into. If they succeed, they become some of the worst monsters in the known galaxy, a dark reflection to the Craftworlders and a taste of what Eldar society was like before the fall. If they do not succeed, they must find purchase elsewhere. Often those will join smaller parts of Eldar society like the Exodites or the Harlequins. Exodites believe in a pre-industrial variant of their society, often retreating to more lush worlds to rise.
Ironically, they're based off of the Warhammer Fantasy Dark Elves, which are located in Warhammer, Canada.
Dinosaurs and live off the land, prehistoric style. Exodites believe in a pre-industrial variant of their society, often retreating to more lush worlds to ride dinosaurs and live off the land.
What do you mean ride dinosaurs? Of course they gotta bring dinosaurs into this shit.
And prehistoric style that I would normally laugh at if they weren't riding dinosaurs like ballers. The Harlequin dancing troupe are a subsect of Eldar that are more than just a little strange. A carnival of dancing jesters that serve the Eldar laughing god of Kegarak. They arrive never when expected and leave just as quickly. Blurs of light carry their footsteps as they dance their foes into a grave. Combat is just as much of a joke as it is a play on bloody murder. They travel and aid many other Eldar and sometimes even humanity for reasons we can never understand. Perhaps one day we would have, were they not stripped of their army book and folded into the Eldari Codex.
Well, that sounds rude. Sounds horrible.
Suppose it'll have to stay a mystery. Or maybe it was one of Keggerock's master plans to get back at she who thirsts and save their species.
Copium, 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 copium.
Who could know? Perhaps it was all a sick and practical joke to Keggerock, and he would just find it very funny to watch me fumble the discussion of one human on a tiny blue planet across the galaxy.
And that will be in the next episode of all this. Anyway, the Eldar are an interesting species, to say the least. The Slaanesh is an interesting goddess, to say the least. Anyway, this was fun. We're going to get into the Imperium Mammoth in the next one. Anyway, have fun. Anyway, bye-bye. Hey, did you enjoy that? Was it funny? Well, come and check it out live over on twitch.tv/freeform_art. Make sure you put the _art. We have lots of fun there. We enjoy ourselves, and we want to see you over there. So come on and hang out. See you in a bit.